If you have a problem with anything, get out of my house, anytime. Right now, I'm being verbally abused by my sister-in-law in my own house, a house that's in my name. I gave her every chance in the world, and she just trampled all over my kindness. I won't show mercy to such a person any longer. I'll make her pay for her actions and make her regret everything she's done. My name is Emma, a 29-year-old housewife. I had been living happily with my husband John, whom I married 2 years ago. My father-in-law passed away before we got married, and 6 months ago, my mother-in-law slipped on the stairs of her apartment and broke her leg. The injury left her with a lingering numbness, and it became difficult for her to continue living as she used to. Given these circumstances, she started living with John and me. The house we live in was passed down to me by my father. My dad loves to travel, and he even bought a motorhome. He left the house he'd been living in to me and started a life in his motorhome with my mother. I decided to take advantage of my father's kindness and began living in the house he'd given me. Now, considering the care for my mother-in-law, I'm glad I accepted the house from my father. Emma, I'm sorry for moving in and needing your care, my mother-in-law said. It's okay, mother-in-law. Please, don't worry about it, I responded. From the first time we met, I liked my mother-in-law because she always maintained a healthy distance. That's why when she got injured and my husband suggested she move in with us, I could accept it without hesitation. Then, one day, a storm blew into our peaceful life. The doorbell rang while I was in the middle of cleaning the house. Yes, who is it? When I opened the front door, there stood my husband's sister, Jessica. Hey there, Emma! Long time no see! Oh, Jessica? Don't be so surprised. We're sister-in-laws after all. Well, about that sister-in-law thing. To be honest, I've never really been fond of my husband's sister, Jessica. She had been living with her husband for quite some time before John and I got married. She recently had a baby, but she demanded a hefty baby gift from my mother-in-law and never let us meet her grandchild. Not to mention, she was utterly selfish at our wedding. This food is awful. Totally killed my mood. She had no problem loudly complaining about everything. When my mother-in-law got injured, she dumped everything onto John, saying, "You're the older brother, aren't you? You should take care of this." She didn't even come to check on my mother-in-law. And of course, she was just as disrespectful to me, saying things like, "So, you're Emma, huh? You're kind of plain." The first time we met. I can never forget the shock of that day. Jessica always has something unnecessary to say, and that's why I never had a good impression of her. When she showed up unannounced that day, I had a bad feeling about it. "Jessica, what brought you here?" I asked. In response to my question, my sister-in-law Jessica shrugged her shoulders rather exaggeratedly. "Well, you see, I'm a little strapped for cash right now. Could you lend me $1,000? No, make that $2,000? What? $2,000? That's too much. I hurriedly retorted, but Jessica showed no sign of backing down. In fact, she even aggressively asked for $1,000. Should I just lend her the money and get her to leave as quickly as possible? A fleeting thought crossed my mind, but given Jessica's personality, once I lent her the money, I knew I wouldn't get it back. I decided to firmly refuse. "No matter how much you ask, I can't. I'm sorry. We have our own lives to live." At that, Jessica's mood worsened abruptly. "Just give me the money. How dare you defy your sister-in-law?" Just as I thought she had shouted enough, she suddenly pushed me on my shoulder, causing me to fall on my rear. Looking down at me, Jessica smirked and extended her hand. "Come on, lend me the money now." That made me really mad. "Can't do! Please leave!" I forcibly ejected Jessica and locked the door. "Hey! Open up! Are you listening to me?" Jessica shouted from the porch. Reacting to her voice, my mother-in-law handled it for me through the door. "If you're going to make any more noise, I'm calling the police." Jessica instantly quieted down, stating, "Fine, I'll be back," before she left that day. After confirming Jessica's departure, my mother-in-law apologized to me. "Emma, I am really sorry. My daughter caused you so much trouble." "Mother, it's okay. In the end, I didn't lend her any money. But still, I'm truly sorry. It must have been unpleasant for you." My mother-in-law seemed to feel a lot of guilt, and she kept apologizing. I couldn't help but wonder how such an arrogant daughter could have come from such a humble mother. When my husband, John, came home that night, I told him everything that had happened. Upon hearing the story, his face turned beet red with anger. "What the? That's too much of a nuisance. Emma, I'm really sorry. I don't even know how to apologize." My husband bowed his head to me. Seeing this, my mother-in-law once again apologized. And so, the day ended with an incredibly awkward dinner. The next day, the intercom rang again. Through the door, I could hear Jessica's cloying voice. "Emma, darling, please, I won't do anything weird anymore. Just lend me the money and I'll leave, right away." Oh boy, 2 days in a row? Even I was taken aback. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law was out, so I was home alone. I cautiously opened the door with the chain on, and Jessica peeked in with great enthusiasm through the gap. "Oh good, you opened it. So, about yesterday..." "Jessica, like I said before, I can't lend you money." At my preemptive strike, Jessica frowned for a moment, but then quickly began to feign tears. "But if things continue like this, I'll starve to death with my daughter." "Starve to death? What do you mean?" "I'm in debt to my husband." Sensing that I had taken the bait, my sister-in-law Jessica immediately responded. "Because of these debts, I can't even live properly. I don't even have anything to eat for tomorrow. Do you understand how I feel?" Really? Are you kidding me? Who does she think would sympathize with such a cheesy sob story? Does she expect me to say, "Oh, that's tough. Let me lend you some money"? While I felt like pointing out the absurdity of her claim, I responded calmly. "I understand you're going through a hard time, but we have our own lives to live. I'm sorry." Upon hearing this, Jessica instantly stopped her sobbing act, and her face twisted into an angry scowl. "What? You're just gonna abandon me in my time of need?" Seeing this conversation was going nowhere, I quietly closed the door. Jessica was still ranting and raving at the front door. After a while, my mother-in-law returned from her day service. "You! Are you causing trouble again? I told you I'd call the police, didn't I?" At my mother-in-law's stern words, Jessica hastily made her exit. "Emma, I'm sorry you had to deal with all this while I was away." My mother-in-law apologized, looking sorry. I cheerfully replied, "Oh, don't worry about it. I kept that chain on the door today. Plus, you returned just in time, so that was a relief." That night, the three of us, my husband John included, were all talking about Jessica. "Next time she comes, you don't have to answer. She'll only take advantage if we keep dealing with her." Upon hearing my husband's words, I decided to ignore Jessica from then on. A few days later, after a period of silence, Jessica returned to our house. Ignoring the incessantly ringing doorbell, I suddenly heard a loud "Ah!" from afar. It clearly wasn't Jessica's voice. Was that a baby crying? Both my mother-in-law and I exchanged glances. Cautiously opening the door, we saw Jessica holding her daughter. "Wait, Jessica, what's happening?" "Yeah, what's the big idea bringing a child here all of a sudden?" My mother-in-law and I were in complete panic. Ignoring our shock, Jessica began to explain. "So, here's the thing. I just got divorced from my husband. I have nowhere else to go. So I thought I'd stay at your house for a while. Wait, you're planning to stay here? My mother-in-law and I were left speechless. Living with such a nuisance is not a joke. However, we couldn't abandon a crying baby right in front of us. My mother-in-law felt the same, and understandably so, as this was her long-awaited first grandchild. Hey, it's okay, right? I can do household chores and help care for Mom. Jessica, whining like a child. After exchanging glances with my mother-in-law, I sighed deeply. Fine, if it's just for a few days. And so, we ended up taking in Jessica and her child. So, I'll be intruding from now on. Saying that, Jessica strode into the house. My husband John, who just got back from work, was utterly stunned. Why is Jessica here? Well, it's a long story. No kidding. Even my husband, who was furious, seemed completely defeated by the little baby. When you calm down, can you please find a job and look for a house? After saying that to his sister, he left the room. But there was no way that Jessica would help around the house. She only spent her days lounging around, watching TV. Furthermore, she dumped the responsibility of taking care of her child onto me and my mother-in-law, living completely as a NEET. Jessica, could you go shopping for us? If I even dared to ask that, she would completely refuse. Excuse me? Why should I? Isn't that your job, Emma, the housewife? Could you at least clean the house, then? Stop bothering me! Don't order your sister-in-law! This was how our exchanges always went. My mother-in-law and husband had tried to reprimand her several times, but she showed no signs of remorse. Moreover, she used her own daughter as leverage, saying, "Do you want to drive me and my daughter out? Are you okay with us starving?" I, reaching the end of my patience, vented my frustrations about Jessica. Enough is enough. We only let you live here because you said you would help with the housework. If you're not going to do anything, then please leave this house. Jessica looked surprised for a moment, but then sneered. Excuse me? Aren't you the one living here off my brother's income? As a mere housewife, living off my brother's hard-earned money. How dare you tell me to leave? If you have a problem, why don't you be the one to leave this house? She doesn't get it. This house was a precious gift that I received from my father. If I back down now, it'll be exactly what she wants. I have to fight back. This house was passed down to me from my father, meaning it's under my name, Jessica. You have no right to tell me anything. So what? Jessica looked down on me and said, You're going to drive out a mother with a 10-month-old child? If you can, do it, you heartless woman! At that moment, the emotions I had been suppressing exploded. I've reached my limit. I'll make her regret ever looking down on me. I turned to face Jessica. Fine, I'll leave. Do whatever you want. What? Everyone in the room was taken aback. Jessica then started to smirk. Oh, really? Sorry about that. Well, a mother raising a child is more important than just a housewife like you. With a mocking tone, Jessica took her daughter and left the room. Hey, Emma, what was that all about? My husband John and my mother-in-law were shocked. To them, I revealed a plan I had been concocting. 2 weeks later, the day to execute the plan had come. Jessica, I'm leaving. Without taking her eyes off her phone, Jessica just shooed me away. Yeah, goodbye. Don't come back, okay? Then, John and my mother-in-law came in. We're leaving too. Huh? Jessica was caught off guard by John's statement. Wait! What does that mean? I thought only Emma was leaving. There's no way that's true. Both your mother and I are on Emma's side. We're cutting ties with such an unreasonable sister like you. What? How dare you? My mother-in-law also counters my husband. It seems like we made a mistake raising you. We sincerely apologize to Emma. We don't think of you as our daughter anymore. From now on, do as you please. Wait! Just hold on a sec. Are you just going to abandon me, Mom? You'll never see your grandchild again. Unfazed, Jessica's mother brushed her off. I don't care. All you ever did was demand baby gifts, and I never got to see my grandchild anyway. Please don't use me only when it suits you. No. Mom. Jessica's face gradually turns pale, but I have no intention of helping her now. I decided to give her a final, ultimate revenge. Oh, by the way, we're selling this house, so you should find a place to live by the end of the month. Sell? This house? Jessica is in a complete state of shock. Wait a second. You're joking, right? It's not easy finding a place to live. We don't care. We're moving, so goodbye. Wait! Please, forgive me. I promise I won't complain anymore. Please, take me with you. Jessica was screaming and begging, but we ignored her. We took only the essential belongings, and John, his mother, and I moved to our new home. Jessica, left without a place to go, ended up living at her ex-husband's house. His debts are still accumulating, and now Jessica has no choice but to work part-time. If she had behaved decently in our house, none of this would have happened. Truly, she reaped what she sowed. However, there is a part of me that is grateful. Thanks to this, we were able to move to a wheelchair-accessible apartment. John's mother can now move around much more without any help. The security is also well established, so even if Jessica comes to visit in the future, we won't be bothered as we were before. John and his mother still feel guilty, but since we gave Jessica a taste of her own medicine, I'm not too bothered. Just being able to live happily with John and his mother is enough to make me feel blessed. From now on, I want to take care of those who care for me. I sincerely hope that the house we inherited from my father goes to someone wonderful.